Yo, what is up guys, Ghost here, and today I wanted to quickly run over some of the changes coming in patch 3.0. We've just gotten the patch notes dropped from DICE, so as you guys know, the patch is releasing tomorrow, Season 3 is releasing tomorrow, and we're getting a new specialist, a new map, new weapons and vehicles, but you already know all of that stuff, so we're not going to go too in depth there. What I do want to talk about though is some of these small interesting changes within the patch notes themselves, as a lot of weapons have been buffed or nerfed, and there are some other substantial changes coming to the game as well. Before we get started though, make sure you are subbed up so you don't miss out on any future videos. We're getting ever so closer to 40,000 subscribers. Thank you guys so much for your support. It really does mean the world to me. Okay, the first big thing that's coming here, and I'm not going to go super in-depth here because I did do a full video on this and the vehicle changes that are coming in a previous video, so I'll link that up there in the corner if you want to get really in-depth. But the ping system, so the ping system, that's Q if you play on PC, and if you play on console, I don't actually know what you press to make the ping work on console, but you press something. You guys could probably tell me down below, but that's besides the point. The ping system is being completely reworked. So previously you pinged, and if you weren't looking directly at an enemy, you would just end up placing one of those green location pings, and usually more often than not you end up pinging something you didn't actually intend to ping in the first place. So what they've done now is changed it so that if you hit the spot button once, it sort of scans the general vicinity of where you're aiming, and if there is an enemy there, they will be 3D spotted within the game. Also for your squad, they will see the ping, but for the rest of your team, they will just see the spot. Now how big this radius is, we don't really know yet. You know, at what sort of distance does it work? That's also something we're going to have to find out as well. So whether this is actually going to be an appreciated change or not, well, you guys tell me. I think 3D spotting in Battlefield is kind of like pineapple on pizza. It's one of those love-hate things, or like Marmite, aka Vegemite for the Australians out there. So yeah, it's going to be like it was in past Battlefield games like BF4, you just sort of spam the spot button in certain areas, but it does say here that repeatedly pressing the ping button without the system finding any targets will incur a short cooldown, which will prevent you spotting. So you can't just go spamming it all over the place, even if you don't know there's an enemy there, and just hope that you spot somebody. Additionally, pressing the ping button twice in a row will still place a danger ping in that location. So that will be sort of how the old ping system worked if you still want to use that. Okay, next thing here is that the lock-on sounds of the game have seen a design overhaul as well, resulting in improved air and ground target lock-on sounds. So it should be a little bit more clear now what's happening with the lock-ons. Are you being locked on? Has the enemy gained the lock? Have they fired the missile? Is the missile about to hit you? You know, better feedback there, so that system's seen an overhaul. And it also says just here quite generically that weapons audio has seen some sound improvements as well. I wouldn't expect anything massive, it's probably just some small tweaks. The C5 throwing distance has been adjusted to be more in line with its anti-vehicle intent. So they don't really specify whether they've increased or decreased the throwing distance, but I recall seeing, I think over on Reddit or Discord, that they have pretty drastically decreased the distance. This is something I've always thought was way too far of a distance in Battlefield 2042. Like if you compare the C5 throwing distance to the C4 throwing distance of, like, let's say BF4, it's insane, man. You can like throw that thing like a baseball. So I think that's going to help those tankers out there stay alive a little bit longer and defend themselves against infantry that sort of encroach too quickly on your position. They've also made several improvements to the responsiveness of soldiers in Update 3.0, and you will notice these improvements particularly around soldier movements such as jumping, vaulting, sliding, entering ladders, and the deployment of parachutes, so hopefully things should be a little bit less janky there. Extremely important update here, seagulls have begun to migrate. You'll see less of them in some areas of the maps. Do seagulls quack? What do you mean do seagulls quack, Dice? They're seagulls. They're not ducks. Okay, the other big major system change here within the patch is the vehicle overhaul. Once again, if you watch my video, I think it was on Saturday, I covered this there because it was somewhat leaked before we actually got the patch notes, but the vehicles have been placed into new categories. So you now have the recon buggy and the hovercraft as light transport, the MAV and the Bolt as armoured transport, The 2 tanks and the new railgun tank, of course, as heavy armor. The Wildcat and the Ram from Season 2, they've been moved into a category called light armor. And then for the air transport, you've got the Condor and the Super Hind. Attack helicopter, that is of course going to be like the 3 helis, the stealth helis, the Nightbird, and the attack helicopter. And then finally, the fighter planes have been moved into their own category. However, what I didn't know is that they're actually looking into balancing the amount of vehicles depending on if you're playing Conquest or if you're playing Breakthrough, and it sounds like maybe on a map by map basis, if a particular map just feels like there are too many vehicles on it or not enough vehicles, they should be able to tweak those numbers a little bit easier now without throwing everything completely out of whack. So as an example, on 128 players Conquest on the new map Spearhead, that will consist of 4 light transports, 1 armoured transport, 1 light armour, 2 heavy armour, 1 air transport, 1 attack heli, and 1 jet per team. Okay, finally here, let's jump into some of the weapon changes, and there's quite a few of these. So this first one I'm a bit bummed out about. They have removed the 1x body shot range on the SWS-10 to match the change on the Gol Magnum. So what this means is the SWS-10 will no longer be able to one-shot somebody in the body at short ranges, and you guys have probably been aware that there has been this run and gun playstyle where people have been putting a red dot sight on a sniper using the faster firing close range ammo. They've been aiming and hitting somebody in the body, getting a one-hit kill, and just going on some absolutely insane kill streaks doing that. I've experimented with this playstyle myself. It's actually a lot of fun. I really liked it, so it's a bit of a bummer to me to see this go, but as DICE state here, they've noticed a rising trend of using bolt actions in enclosed space and getting the advantage of this feature meant to be used defensively. This change encourages bolt actions to be used for medium to long range encounters, allowing for the opportunity to switch to a sidearm on close quarter encounters. So it seems that playstyle is dead. I know a lot of you guys are going to say, Ghost, this isn't Call of Duty, we shouldn't be running and gunning, quick scoping people, and I kind of agree with that. It is a bolt action sniper rifle, of course it is intended to be used at a medium to long range. Nobody in real life, I don't really like to draw the realism argument too much in Battlefield because Battlefield is far from being realistic, but in real life nobody's running around with a bolt action sniper up close. They've increased the AKS-74U damage drop-off distance, making it better at medium combat ranges, and my god, did it need a buff, so that's good to see. They've lowered the Avance's damage drop-off distance, so there will no longer be a 4-shot kill range during close range encounters. It looks like the Avance's is now going to be a very minimum of a 5-shot kill. They have increased the NTW 50 damage against light vehicles with the anti-material ammo and substantially increased with the high power anti-material ammo. The M60E4 has had its damage lowered between the distances of 50 to 75 meters from 28 down to 22, so that's seen a little bit of a nerf there. The M1911 though has had its damage drop off increased up to a distance of 30 meters. Same goes for the Rex, damage drop-off distance increased up to 40 meters. And interestingly, the AC-42 that I always thought of being one of the more powerful weapons has had its burst per minute increased from 160 to 170. So a little bit of a buff there as well. The PP-29 has also had its damage drop-off increased on distances below 30 meters. The SFAR has, I'm afraid, seen a bit of a nerf, so if that was a favorite one for you, you might want to take a look again at one of the best assault rifles. The damage has been lowered between 50 and 75 meters from 28 down to 22, so the exact same change that the M60E4 saw there is also being applied to the SFAR. And finally here, they have fixed an issue on some Vault weaponry not getting the correct headshot multiplayers when some attachments were active. So that actually could be part of the reason that some of the Vault weapons feel a little bit lackluster and not on par with the other weapons in the game. So there you go, that's pretty much most of the interesting stuff out of the patch notes. As always, I will link them down below if you want to go and take a look at everything in its entirety, but I'm not going to lie to you, half of it is going to be stuff you already know, the new map, the new vehicles, all those kinds of things, and we're going to get to play them tomorrow anyway. But if that is your jam, then as I say, I'll link it below. Don't forget to subscribe, guys, if you enjoyed the video. I am hopefully going to be streaming tomorrow when I get home from work, so if you guys want to come and hang out, maybe catch a few rounds with me or just watch along, that'd be awesome. Have a good one, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.